Today we're snowshoeing back out to a pond located behind the property. My property directly borders over 2,000 acres of state land, which directly borders 1.9 million acres of federal wilderness, which borders over 600,000 acres of national park. So in aggregate, my backyard is over 2 million acres. And today we're gonna go out to a pond close by in the wilderness and build a snowman out there. Because it's a beautiful day. It's November 10th, 9th? I don't know. It's November, early November. We got some snow on the ground. We're gonna go have some fun with it. It's the largest biome in the world. It covers the entire northern part of the globe. If you look on a map, this is the same forest that you find in northern Canada, as you find in Sweden, as you find in Siberia. A lot of the same animals live here. And so we are walking through almost entirely what is black spruce. So black spruce is a very common tree, and they look like this. Some people call them Dr. Seuss trees because they'll look kind of ugly and bent up the way they grow. This is a good example of a black spruce, very healthy. Now, as compared to white spruce, the black spruce are smaller, thinner, but they are not as susceptible to the beetle kill. And so these black spruce trees grow in a wetter soil. And there's two schools of thoughts about how the soil is wet. Some people think the soil is permanently wet, so they'll grow by the water table. But from what I've come to the conclusion of, these black spruce. This one is probably 100 years old. If you cut down a spruce tree and count its rings, the black spruce grow very slowly, so this is probably 100 to 150 years old, which means they sprouted over 100 years ago when the climate was much colder than it is today. And so when these black spruce grow in these thick stands, just like this one that we're in the middle of, they block out the sun. And so the snow that does fall stays on the ground longer, and it makes the ground colder. So that means the black spruce are actually creating their own environment around the soil, and it makes a colder soil. And so you'll actually get it's not necessarily a permafrost because it melts every summer, but you'll have frost all the way through June because of these black spruce trees. And so what I see is that the black spruce actually make the ground colder than the ground should be if they weren't growing there. And so when you cut them down and allow the sun to get into the soil, you'll create arable land where people thought was worthless swamp, because the water table here is actually 100 feet below us. And so these black spruce are making the ground colder. And so if you extrapolate this across the thousands of acres that we live in, you'll realize that Alaska really can be a much warmer place if you cut down some of the trees.
Make Alaska warm again.
Make Alaska warm again. It is beautiful though.
Sure is.
At first glance, you might not think that a Powerline Corridor is synonymous with the wilderness, but as civilization has developed Alaska, these Powerline Corridors are generally the last bit of civilization before the real frontier begins. They're built on the outskirts of town. And when I first moved here, I was uncomfortable being so close to a Powerline Corridor, but I've realized since then, Powerline Corridors are the easiest way to navigate the wilderness, and they actually have turned themselves into wildlife corridors because the moose and the bears, the wolves and coyotes find it a lot easier to walk along this than through that black spruce forest. And so unintentionally, we humans have actually created better habitat for all the animals here and have helped increase the population of moose and coyotes. And well, the bear, I don't know if we've increased the population of bears, but they certainly seem to like it. And what we have here is a willow tree. This is a deciduous tree, one of the few that grow here in the boreal forest. And generally you won't see deciduous trees anywhere except for very well drained soil, so this means there's a lot of sand underneath us. And if you look at the branch here, you see that rubbing. See how the bark's been rubbed off? You can actually see the teeth marks in there. That is from moose. And when one of these trees fall over due to a snowstorm, they'll actually, you'll usually see 2, 3, 4 at a time sometimes. They come in, they can smell them when they fall over, and they'll chew on this all winter. So it looks like this is probably from last winter, and they ripped this whole tree apart. And well, there's a lot of moose back here along the Powerline Corridor. This is just another sign that the population is very healthy, very robust. These are willow. So these are young willow saplings, and you can see they've been chewed up on the top, and the moose will start targeting willow trees this time of year, and especially in the middle of the winter, and they'll come through and chew them all down to the ground. And willow are fast growing, so if you walk through here in the summertime, sometimes these willow trees will be taller than I am, and then this time of year they'll get mowed down by the moose. The best way to know what's out here is to set up one of these trail cameras. And I try to do this along cuts in the trees like this one, and you look for thin spots in the forest where it's easier for animals to walk through. You set up these camera traps, and I'll take this card home with me to see what's on it. And this is a really good way to kind of help identify all the creatures that are living out here. And wintertime is the best time of year to set up a camera trap because the animals' migration patterns slow down a lot. So in the summertime, you'll get moose walking hundreds of miles in just a little bit over a week. But in the wintertime, because the snow's so deep, they generally don't move as much. I see a lot more canines back here in the wintertime, more rabbits. Tall trees here are white spruce. They get a lot taller than the black spruce, a lot bigger. This is what we use primarily for building houses and firewood. And you can see this one is dead, and this is what the beetle kill's been doing up here. They kill these trees, and then so you have a bunch of standing dead timber, and then there's a lot of wildfires up here. So it's always a good opportunity in the wintertime to come clear the woods. I can always come back here, cut this down for firewood. And you look around me, you can see most of these trees have been infected with beetles. A couple of them are still alive, but probably everything big will probably succumb to the beetle eventually. And now it's not all doom and gloom, because let's check it out over here. This is a birch tree. And this birch tree, based on its diameter, is over 200 years old. So it's been through a lot. And when these spruce trees die, it makes it easier for trees like this to regenerate. And so while the spruce are dying, there'll be more birch. And you know what eats birch is moose. Moose don't eat the spruce. So with the beetle kill as serious as it is, we should see an increase in the moose population thanks to all the wildfires and the new birch that are coming in. Although this one is an impressive specimen, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Looks like there's some chaga up top there. That ice is going to be a little too thin to walk on just yet, but another couple of weeks will be a good ice skating spot. I wouldn't recommend it. So speaking of chaga, we harvested some chaga last winter and we use it to make a nice hot tea. Tastes great, thins the blood, and cures cancer. So nothing wrong with any of those things. It's hot.
Thank you.
That's not a good shape.
Pretty good.
No.
Just needs a little bit more snow on it. Well, the snow's not as good as I thought it was going to be.
No, it sure isn't.
But it's that easy
We
to build a
did-
snowman.
We did make a snowman.
We did it. So, if you like that video, share, like, and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys next time.